giving jobs to people is a very noble job. It's more than just a career. I think it's a calling to help their families, to provide food on the table. So yeah, I fell in love with the job. So that's it.
Mark, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you've got to where you've got to in your career journey so far.
Hi, to begin with, I am Mark Justin Mendiola. You can call me Mark. For short, I am 27 years old and born and raised here in the Philippines. I do have 6 years of experience in human resources, focused more on the talent acquisition. To begin my career, or I began my career with by I started as an intern. I strategically planned it that I will work on the talent acquisition internship program of our school for that to be a gateway that after my bachelor's degree, I would work on different recruitment companies, BPOs, and different consulting firms. And luckily, I landed on different jobs where I can use my expertise as a talent acquisition specialist or a recruitment officer.
So you said you strategically planned this. Why did you strategically plan this? And how did you assess which path you were going to go into?
I strategically planned this in a way that I came from a family of human resources personnel. My aunts, my sister, my relatives we all work in the HR. So growing up, I can see or I learned different labor codes, if not policies on HR. So I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the job. So I want to give it a try back when I was in college. So I applied immediately for the internship, then which helps me land on my different jobs. So then after my internship, 2 weeks prior my graduation, they immediately offered a job for me if I could work on the largest BPO here in our province. We do mass and volume hiring. I stayed with them for 1 year and 7 months. I do different sourcing and selection channels, or handle different sourcing and selection channels. I mean, such as social media. I do attend community partnership, attend the job fairs. Also, I conduct interviews and handled ATS applicant tracking systems softwares. So with that, I fell in love with the job. I think because I'm a people person, that's why I love talking to people, doing interviews like this. That's why I'm more on excited, more on being nervous. That's why, yeah, I think I'm very talkative. So, and I love dealing with people, knowing their stories. Plus, giving jobs to people is a very noble job. It's more it's more than just a career. I think it's a calling to help their families, to provide food on the table. So yeah, I fell in love with the job. So that's it.
So you mentioned sourcing. If we dive into that a little bit deeper, what kind of person does it take and what kind of skills are required to execute the job? And then what are some of the things that you've learned along your career of what's necessary?
As a sourcing specialist, I think the most important skill would be creativity and understanding the job itself. For you to be able to source different candidates, you have to be creative on what your client wants. You have to create different marketing channels or use your marketing activities for you to source some candidates, such as doing extra on social media, aside from LinkedIn, Bullhorn, those things. If you're familiar with it, we should expand more. Also, understanding the industry that you're sourcing to, it's a big help. So, more on creativity and understanding the industry.
Mark, how do you tend to map a market? Let's say you're going into a new market for you. How do you assess the market? How do you learn about it? And how do you keep up to track with the trends and the news of that market as well?
For me to be able to understand it is I first used AI. I used the power of AI. because it would help me generate a lot of ideas. Next would be I do a different bullet down or bullet of things that the client wants. For example, more on the education, their experiences, their backgrounds. That's very important since nowadays client wants experienced applicants. So I think also I attended different webinars and seminars about sourcing. That's why it helped me boost or exposed me more on the different sourcing activities.
How important is personal branding when it comes to sourcing and the recruitment sourcer role?
Branding. I think it's very important because many people think that working on the recruitment it's just more on a glitz and glamour. You just do interviews, you just hire, but actually it's not it because we tend to understand their position. It's hard to tell if the candidate didn't make it. So branding is very important in a way that you have to reflect what you have to you have to reflect what your client wants and you have to show what the company is. So as a recruiter you're the frontliner of the company or the client. That's why looking good and being well prepared, for example, in an interview, is a big factor. So, yeah, branding is very, very important.
So, can you give us an example of, let's say I'm a client and I'm looking for a UI developer. I've created a job description. So, as a client, I will come to you and then you will help me do what exactly? So, guide us through your process of how you would take a client from wanting to getting.
I do a touch base meeting with you, understand what you're looking for as a UI or UX designer. If I got it correctly, you're more on the product design. As a user interface designer, I have to understand what are the skills that you want. If do they have experience on Python, Node.js, JavaScript, those things, all of the software, the familiarity with the software. I have to know that so I could filter it on LinkedIn. Aside from that would be the school or the educational background. I have to know if you want someone who did boot camp when they were in college, if their majors back in college, also their years of experience in the job, if you want a candidate who works with software development before, or you want a freelancer, or if not, or you're open with a newbie. After that would be I started to do posting on LinkedIn. Aside from posting on LinkedIn, I do guerrilla sourcing. If you're familiar with it, I do reach out to different candidates. I use LinkedIn Recruiter, so it's easier for me to filter out candidates who will fit for your role. I'll just do a lot of filter. Then after that, if I could select some, I could endorse them to you. You can, as a sourcing specialist, I'm not sure if I would be part of the interview process, but I would send them to you. If you don't want those candidates, I'll send them an email, schedule them an interview, just like what Mer did. So after that, we could move to the next steps, which is the interview, client interview. If you do have some assessments, we could undergo with them. After which, if you hired some, I could do the job offer. If not, the onboarding. So that's it.
Now, because we operate with two markets, so there's also the candidate side as well. So in the same process, how would you be managing the candidate all the way from the start to the end? And what's some of your personal touches you'd like to add?
As a recruiter on reaching out candidates, I have to keep them warm. I have to let them know what is the next step of the recruitment process, what's the requirements that they need. I'm not sure with the setup in the US or in London, but in the Philippines, what I do is I keep them warm. Aside from that is I always remind them of the requirements that they need to go. For example, they need to go under medical examination if they do have beneficiaries for their insurances, something like that. Then I'll inform them about their first day of training, what to expect. Then if they have questions, if they could reach out to me. So just message. They can message me if they have questions. So it would be smooth for the both of us.
Recruiters is never a 9 to 5 job. You are on the clock 24 hours. So, how do you tend to manage your whole week or yourself? So, what are some of your time management hacks or skills? And when it comes to recruitment, how would you describe what a week in the life of a recruiter is like?
As a recruiter, yeah, 9 to 5 is not really. We do more than that. So I just what I mentioned, it's more on a calling, not just a career. So it's fulfilling if you already hired someone or you see the smile on their faces. That's very fulfilling. So what I do on my time management is that in the morning I open emails, I strategize on what to prioritize. Then we'll start on the interview or what would be the task for the day. So usually I start it by doing interviews. If not, I do phone screen, invite candidates. If they could go on site and try different assessments, something like that, or we could send them virtual assessments. Then we just have to keep them warm for and the rest of the day. Then we give them feedback. For a week on the life of a recruiter is actually I'm not that sure since as a freelancer I work on different clients. That's why yeah, 9 to 5 is not really the usual time. So, but I try to balance everything. Every weekend, I do running. I play volleyball every weekend. I do swimming, or I am a aspiring triathlete. So, I try to put balance on everything. That's why I don't feel any burned out or exhausted about the job. Also, it's my dream job. That's why I would never say never on the recruitment job.
So, you see a future in recruitment. If someone was to ask what the earning potential is like, or what's the sort of ladder of success in recruitment, how would you describe that from your view?
As a rank and file employee, I could say that it's a well-paying job. It's a fulfilling job. Aside from the monetary, it's more on the fulfillment as a recruiter and as a person that you give jobs to people. But I still I would suggest it to an aspiring recruiter if they want to pursue their career in recruitment, because we're very in demand right now. Also, we're going virtually and we're the backbone of the company. We're the frontliners, and it's because of us that companies exist or talents exist. So I can say, or what I can say, what amount, what a recruiter can earn, but it's more on fulfillment, and it's rewarding, still rewarding.